So this is Andrew I think Roll, and he's doing a video on why manga is outselling or are outselling comics. Well, that's kind of obvious because manga knows who their core audience is, and well, this is not comic books' fault per se, but this is the higher ups' fault, and BlackRock and Vanguard and all of them making all these changes for these heroes to be a certain demographic that doesn't exist, that so-called modern audience. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, well, too bad. So with that said, so he's gonna do a
Ryaga
review on
Samura.
that.
We know why
You know
LOL.
why. If you know, you know. But anyway, so we're gonna play this and see what this is about. So yeah, I hope they don't go straight to commercial. I'm gonna be so annoyed.
Manga are
Okay,
outselling
good. Let's go.
comics. And this is why.
And please give them a follow if you like this video. I like to show off smaller guys in reactions who are doing more anime related stuff. I like showing them off to give them the chance they can get seen and stuff like that. So it's like a win on one on my half and a win on their half. So if you want to support them and if you like their takes, whether it's a documentary or a recommendation video, please give them a follow. It's really cool if you do that. And their stuff will be in the description at the bottom and linked into the video of this reaction. So look out for that.
Lately, there's been this debate online around the fact that manga have won over comics in sales in the latest years. Starting from the example of One Piece, that has surpassed a few years ago both Batman and Spider-Man in overall sales, with more than 500 million copies sold since its first release in 1997. And now Superman is probably next, with its overall 600 million copies sold in its history. With this video today, I'm gonna try to explain some reasons from a point of view to this phenomenon. And then I'm going to try to give you a few suggestions on how to get into comics if you're not, cause in case you're missing out on a lot of incredible stuff. So one very important reason to start off is appeal. But let me explain. Who doesn't love Batman or Iron Man or Spidey in the first place? How can I say that comics have an appeal related issue? The thing is, with how the media, respectively manga and comics, are advertised and marketed to the general public through their animated/directed counterparts. Whereas manga most of the times get adapted into anime with time, and thus people can obsess over them through animated TV series, most of the MCU and the DC Comics movies follow their own continuity. They don't serve as real adaptation of the related comic books, except in a few cases. If you think about the two movies involving Miles Morales, not only they showcase incredible animation techniques, but they also serve as a very respectful and appreciable tribute to the comics that created the Spider-Verse. But apart from that,
Still, up to this day, the Spider-Verse is one of the greatest animated Marvel movies I've ever seen, from the first and second one. Still great artistically, paced very well. The pacing does not suck, which is really hard to do these days, but the pacing is amazing. Characters amazing. Still love Miles. Miles is amazing. Love Miles.
generally
And I
speaking,
love how they betray him and he's not like a Peter clone. Thank God.
Marvel and DC movies tend to be their own thing, which is not necessarily a negative. But since they stand on their own, there's no actual reason for most of the general public to go buy comics to see how the story goes on. Although there would be obviously reasons to read them just to see how the original stories concerning determinate characters were written, or how they're being written now.
But they ruin it with the
Because,
politics
you
they
see,
eventually
here's
have.
another problem.
I know you're talking about the flag and then maybe the Black Lives Matter pin on his thing, and then I think they kind of did a like the whole like they did a metaphor where Miles feel like he's not accepted by anyone. I know what that was a little bit metaphor of something else of what they was trying to pull off there, but it's not as hard, heavy hitting or heavy handed as other movies. So even though it's annoying, it's tolerable to a point where you won't either notice it, or if you do, it's just like a flick. it's not like heavy-handed like if you're watching the Marvels or some stupidness.
Reading comics is difficult, to say the least. And not because you read from right to left. That's manga's problem. But before I explain why, you could take a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. The wide majority of the people watching my videos are not subscribed, and while it costs you literally nothing, it helps me a lot. I make videos about manga, anime, animation, narrative in general, whatever I feel like honestly, so feel free to check the channel out. By the way, back to the topic. Comics are difficult to get into because of runs, continuity, and reiterations of characters. You might not even understand how to get into a superhero's journeys, because on the issue you might read number 1, but it wouldn't be a very comprehensible beginning, or on the other hand, you might not see a number 1 on the cover, but it would be a perfect starting point. The thing is, when you want to read a manga series, you just start from the first volume. You know that that author has written that story, and that's all.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like about manga compared to comic books, and this might be very un-American on my behalf to say this, but that one makes it easier to read a manga compared to that of a comic book, because a comic book can have different iterations, variations, variants, and stuff that's going on in that particular story, and you don't know where to start at. Unlike a manga, it literally has, it'll tell me, this is the first book, this is the latest book, so you know somewhere in between you have to read this in this particular order. And that's pretty much it. That's the one thing you can at least say that manga has a lot over comic books. And even if they have different iterations of a story of a character, they seem to be consistent within that universe most cases, or at least try to be as consistent as possible with the previous work.
You want to read Jujutsu Kaisen? Good. Start from number 1 and then keep on going. You want to start with the anime?
Yes.
Good for you. Then you can pick up the manga at the point the anime is not adapted yet. Pretty simple and clean. There are obviously a few exceptions in which a manga saga is split into more series, like for example GTO or JoJo. But still nothing a good old page and fandom can solve. On the other hand, think about it like that. Spider-Man was created by Stan Lee in 1962. Do you think that it's the same story that's been running in the comics since then? Well, if Stan Lee was Eiichiro Oda, presumably yes, but the answer is no.
Nope.
Also because at the same time he was busy alongside Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby creating the majority of the other heroes you know, like the X-Men, Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk, even Silver Surfer, one of my personal favorites. So what happens instead in comics is that after a hero is created by an author, and that works like that both for Marvel and DC, more runs follow one another, coordinated by different authors and artists. And from time to time, because of important events that happen in its continuity, or simply because the creative direction decided so, the words reset, and a new starting point is created for fans to read. Imagine superheroes like blank canvas. Each one has some traits that are commonly acknowledged, and sometimes even those can be subverted. But every author and every artist that works on a specific run with their ideas and stories create their personal interpretation of the character, the struggles he goes through, and so on. And there can also be multiple versions of the same hero running at the same time.
I get too realistic for my art, but seeing you do this makes me want to do it just to spite you face with tears of joy.
I love Erin. She always keeping me on my toes. Even when she's not drawing, she keeps me on my toes. She's like, damn, even though I don't want realistic, I want to do it too, just to spite you. I love Erin. She always knows exactly what to say to keep me on my toes. Shit. Sometimes, sometimes Erin gives me like a Toph. Like, she reminds me of Toph sometimes.
Face with tears of joy.
She reminds me of Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender, referring to like Aang as Twinkle Toes, because she's always keeping him on his feet. Jesus.
Like Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man, or Batman and Detective Comics, sometimes somehow tied and sometimes completely on their own. And yeah, what I just told you might seem complex and confusing, but the problems don't stop here.
I can see that happening. I can see you're a fast learner. One of my best students. One of my most annoying when she wants to prove something to me.
because the difference between the two media is also a matter of accessibility. Along with the fact that in the last 20 plus years manga have been subject to a lot of piracy, if you want to read anything published by Shueisha in a legit way, the Manga Plus app is there for you. Free and very easy to use, up to date with the new weekly or monthly releases.
Well, you
Face
haven't been...
with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, I'ma come for you.
Well, Flit, you haven't been here long enough for me to make a nice valuation on that yet, so I can't say yet.
You can't read the majority of the chapters
So we'll
in a
see.
limited number of times, but that's pretty obvious if you ask me. On the other end, the only app that exists for comic books is Marvel Unlimited, and it takes a monthly subscription to use it. And at the same time, comics are pretty expensive in general, especially because of format, colored pages, type of paper. That's not to say that manga are cheap, but to put it in perspective, $10 for 200 pages versus $10 for 60 pages. Yeah, it's just like that. But regardless of prices, difficulty to get into the medium, or any other reason that could prevent you from reading comics, I can assure you that you're missing out on a lot. So my suggestion to get into comics would simply be read. There are a lot of stories or runs related to some superheroes that have become classics with time. Just search for that specific hero online and you'll find out. And some volumes are self-contained, so they can be a perfect starting point. For example, a good one for Batman would be Miller's Year One, or The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. For Superman, you could go with All-Star Superman, one of the biggest classics in Superman's production, or maybe with John Byrne's run. A good starting point for Spider-Man could be Coming Home by Straczynski, which is a volume that starts his run, with very iconic chapters and stories, or maybe Stan Lee's original one. One very cool and appreciated one is Michelini's one, in which Venom is introduced and incredible stories like Kraven's Last Stand take place. About recent runs, I highly recommend Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil and Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk. And if you want something really fresh and highly recommended that's ongoing precisely now with only a few issues to catch up with, check the Ultimate Project created by Hickman. Anyway, if you want to read the current regular series of a specific character, ask on subreddit suggestions and there will be plenty of fans glad to help you. And if you don't understand everything the first time you pick up an issue, don't bother too much and just try to understand if you're enjoying what you're reading overall. Comics can be complex to get into, but have much more to offer than you could think. Amazing characters, heartfelt stories, and an incredibly vast subculture to explore. I hope this video of mine was at the very least a good incentive to give comics a go, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions left about the topic, or if you want to share your experience or taste in comic books, the comments are here for that. And with that, the video is over. See you soon, guys.
Good video! I like this video, it's pretty good.
To be honest, I don't trust most stuff on Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit's kind of a weird place. It's not the best place to trust, I guess. But there we go. Let's go. So like that was a good video for Andrew Roll. I'm saying that right. Thank you, Andrew, for doing that. He has 621 subscribers. If you guys want to give him a subscribe, please, I'll give him a subscribe just to give him that uppity up. Give you my support on that, Andrew. So thank you for that awesome video, and I hope to see more videos from you, just like the others that I showcase for my reactions. So with that said, like, subscribe, share, comment, follow Andrew if possible, link in the description, and also who will be tagged in this video. So hopefully if he sees this, good job, Andrew. You're doing an awesome job, bro. All right, let's go.